Where we were like, instead of calling something a faith crisis, could we call it a faith adventure? So when you go on an adventure, right, there are the twists and turns. You read a really great, Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, right? She is putting in there the twists and the turns on purpose. So the reader is engaged and excited, and it's an adventure, and we don't know how it's going to get resolved. And then this character comes in, and then this backstory you didn't know. That is pretty much all of our conversion stories, if we're really on the conversion path. And I value talking about God and faith. And on the middle, what I love about the middle is it's non-denominational. And so we really have invited faith, all different faiths and all different, walks of life and demographics on to have conversations about being in the middle. So sometimes we want to put faith in this, like, this is the part of my life, and this part of my life takes care of the house, and this part of my life, those are stewardships, which is just fun fact. My new book I'm working on, right? But faith for me is so integral. And that's why I think when you have a faith crisis, it unravels all these areas of your life, because especially our faith, it's so intensely like woven into tradition, family, expectation, values, what we do with our money, what we do with our time, right? All the things. And so
what we eat,
right? If we have sex, when we have sex, how many kids we're going to have, which is not true, right? So what happens is we take culture and doctrine and we swim in it, and it becomes part of all of our identities. And then you have something like, if people watch our episode on the middle with you, the Jenga tower comes down, right? And so what I really hope to do in the content I create and put out there, and the conversations, I see myself, maybe this is the best answer to how would you intro me, is I'm a conversation starter. And I like to start conversations on various platforms. So in a book, in a show, when I'm speaking, or a post on social media about the things that are awkward. That's my jam. I like to talk about the things that trigger us, that are emotional. I like to talk about the messy stuff. I don't love living it, but I'm willing to talk about what I've gone through in a way that it shows that faith isn't on the shelf. It's not like this thing we do, especially in our faith on Sundays. We're not poinsettia Easter lily worshipers, right? We are 7 days a week and 24 hours a day. And so when something happens, whether it's a mental health break, a breakup in a relationship, a job loss, some families this last year, it's all three of those things. I don't know. Did I just say 3 or 4? I don't know. Right. And then you add in there a health crisis or whatever else. If you can see faith as an adventure and a journey, then the different characters that show up, what you find, I just watched Princess Bride with my daughter the other day for our mom date. And we were doing pedicures and watching Princess Bride. My daughter's 17 and she's just phenomenal. We need to get her on the middle. My son's been on Saints Unscripted, and he's phenomenal too. He's just in a different stage of life and doesn't live at home. So we were having our mom date, and it gets to the point where everyone knows, right? Where Billy Crystal is is giving the magic nut. It looks like a chestnut that he paints with like chocolate to bring the nearly dead Wesley back to life. And I was thinking about how all of us go through periods of time where we feel nearly dead. We feel nearly dead, and or mostly dead. I think Princess Bride says mostly dead. And I think there's that scene where they lay Wesley down and they say, like, what do you have to live for? And he moans, true love. Do you know what I'm talking about? Moo love.
Confession, I've only seen it like once.
I know, that's
and I watched it grudgingly.
I know. So it's your homework assignment.
Okay.
So there's a sign. So that's probably a bad example because you don't even know what I'm talking about. I forgot. I was like, wait, is it Jake that's my friend that's never watched it? Yes, it's you. I have another friend.
I've watched it once.
Once. Okay. So
Sorta.
They say, what are you living for? And he says, basically true love. And so I would just say faith to me is about a relationship. It's not about all the check boxes. I do the check boxes because it strengthens my relationship. But the relationship isn't the check boxes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I think like whether it's our marriage or our kids or our own relationship with ourselves, you have choice on how to strengthen those relationships. For me, organized religion is my choice in ways in which I'm strengthening my relationship. But if you're finding yourself or finding this episode in the middle of a faith crisis, whatever that is, reframing it as an adventure, I think like that's the makings of all good movies. That's the makings of all great books, right? That's the makings of a great life. Instead, we judge it from a cultural standpoint. Oh, she's going through a faith crisis. Oh, he's doing this now. And we think it's the end of the story. And I just, especially after Meg died, I have to really hold tight to the idea that this is a long view. This is the long game we're playing. We're not doing the short game. So for the short game, it looks like a mess. The long game is God's not panicked. And he's so fine with Jake. And he's so fine that you don't by March have it all figured out. And I think that's what I've tried to say to you as a friend. And I feel like you have heard me say to you more than once that I'm grateful you're going through this. You don't like it, but I love it because I see the long game, and the long game tells me that it's changing who Jake is for the better eventually, right? So Elder Holland says, be therefore perfect eventually. He just said that at the last conference. Well, eventually to me is grace. It's grace in the adventure. It's grace in the mess. It's grace that in any given moment, you don't have the answers. You're not okay with the church. You're not okay with church history. You're not okay with yourself, your relationships, but eventually. And so making space for that is my jam. Like I love having conversations that maybe marginalized groups or people that have traditionally written themselves out of the game are like, wait, what? She just said sex. And she said jam 3 times. And she's talking Princess Bride, but she likes to talk about the Doctrine and Covenants. And I'm 50, so then that's crazy, right? I used to have braces. That was another part of the story, right? And I just want to keep having those because to me, when we have them, we can work through it. It's when we stop talking to each